Hello, this is John from caveofprogramming.com, and this is number 6 in our series of advanced Java multi-threading tutorials from Cave of Programming. And in this tutorial we're going to look at countdown latches. So we saw earlier on in the series of tutorials that you can get into a lot of terrible problems with thread synchronization if you try to access even so much as an integer from multiple threads at the same time. But fortunately there are a bunch of classes in Java that are thread safe and that you can really safely access from multiple threads without worrying about thread synchronization, and countdown latch is one of them. This is a really great class that you should definitely know if you're going to use any multi-threaded code. A countdown latch lets you count down from a number that you specify. I will specify 3 here. It could be anything, of course. And it lets one or more threads wait until the latch reaches a count of 0. So one or more threads can count down the latch, and when it finally equals 0, then one or more threads that are waiting on the latch can then proceed and carry on. So let's see how that works, and I'm sure you can think of a whole bunch of interesting usages for this. And of course this can be one, sometimes just for very simple inter-thread communication. But I'll create a thread class here. Well, I'll create a class that implements the runnable interface so that I can run it in its own thread. I'll say class processor implements runnable, and I'll add the public void run method here. And what I'm going to do is I want to be able to pass each of these processors the latch so that it can use it. So I'm going to add a private variable count down latch, and while I'm at it I'll press Ctrl+Shift+O to add the import in Eclipse, and then I'll add a constructor public processor that accepts the countdown latch, count down latch, and just sets this dot latch equal to latch. Okay. Now in run, what I'm going to do is I'll have a sysout in here so that we know when this thread started, and I'll say started, and I'll simulate some useful processing as usual by doing thread.sleep, and let's have 3 seconds, and I will handle the exception with a try catch. And of course there are lots of possibilities with countdown latch, but what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say that when the thread's finished I will count the latch down. You could count it down anywhere in your thread, so I'll say latch dot count down. So every time count down is called, the value that I specified here will be counted down by 1. And notice I'm not using the synchronized keyword here because this is a thread safe class, and that's what's so good about it. Now I'm gonna spawn off like 3 of these processors, and I could do that with the thread class, or I could use an executor. So I'll use executor service executor equals executors dot new, well, let's do Ctrl+Shift+O to add the import, and then I can say new fixed thread pool, and I'll have 3 threads in my thread pool, and what I'll do is in a loop I'll submit 3 processors. So basically each thread is going to get a processor. I equals 0, I less than 3, I plus plus, and for each one I'll say executor dot submit, and I'll add in a new processor, and I'll give the processor a latch, a reference to the latch. And so each processor, this is going to create three threads, and each thread is going to get one processor. So arguably overkill for a thread pool, but you can kind of see the possibilities here. Like you could have, for example, 3 threads here, and I could create here, like 100 processors, and I could count down from 100 to 0, let's say. And then in my main thread here, I'm going to just do latch.await. And there's also a version of await that takes a timeout. But what await does is it waits until the countdown latch has counted down to 0. And you're not limited to putting await in your main program thread here. You could put it in any number of threads. So for example, I could have almost kind of the inverse situation here, where I have a bunch of threads that are all waiting, and in my main program I could just count down from 1 to 0 to sort of unleash the threads and kind of unleash the hounds type effect. Okay, so I'll handle this interrupted exception here, and then here, just to show that we've finished waiting, I'll type sysout control space sysout and completed. So when I run this, all my threads will start, and then each one will call countdown after 3 seconds, and each countdown decrements this latch by 1, and when it reaches 0, await finally returns and completed is executed. So a very useful class, and there are a whole bunch of extremely useful high-level multi-threading classes in Java. That basically means you will probably never have to muck about with things like notify, and you probably won't have to use synchronize very much either if you're careful. So we'll probably look at some more of those classes in future tutorials, and for now you can find this code on caveofprogramming.com, and until the next tutorial,